Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Xcession Everything Service Management ESM podcast. I'm Daniel Gilby, joined as always by my co-host Sunil.
Hello.
And today we've got a bit of a special episode where we're introducing Mike, who's a new member of the Xcession sales team. Mike, great to have you with us.
Thanks, Dan. Great to be on finally.
Finally, right, exactly. We've managed to get you into the studio after all this time. Sunil, you've got a few things to kick off with Mike and to get Mike introduced to the world, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is, I think, the intent of this special episode. So what I guess we wanted for all of our partners and customers and anybody that is interested in our podcast, really to just get a feel for Mike and understand a little bit about who he is, his background, all of that kind of stuff. So, Mike, background, let's start off with that question. Maybe just give us a bit of, the potted history of Mike Johnson.
Sure. So professionally, I guess I'll start there. I've been in sort of sales for come to 4.5 years now, and in the tech space for about 3.5 years. And then prior to that, I actually have an education background in political science. So how you go from political science to the world of tech and IT is I'm not sure how I got here, but I got here, and I'm happy that I am here. But then outside of that, I'm a very, very keen cricketer. I think badger is the word, cricket badger. So I play every Saturday, bit of a guitarist when I can. And fortunately, as sort of maybe a fun fact or interesting fact about me is I've been fortunate enough to sort of grow up traveling since I was a very young child all those years ago. Sort of grew up in Riyadh in Saudi and had the opportunity to sort of stay in the States as a late teenager. And my family sort of moved abroad a bit. So in my later adult years, I've got to go to Gibraltar for free holidays, and my partner's also Canadian too, so I fly out to Canada quite a lot. I have a sister over there as well, so I'm always trying to escape the country where I can.
Well, and what a time to be escaping.
No comment.
I mean, that's interesting, Mike, because actually my background for you guys and for our listeners is also one of growing up, I should say, and occasionally living up, but mainly growing up in countries far afield as well. So I was actually conceived in the Sudan, albeit born in Chiswick. And then I lived in the Sudan, in Kenya, the Sudan. Then I spent time in Lesotho. And my parents also traveled around a bit. So I spent time in Oman, in Botswana, and the UAE. So two very well-traveled people. What about you, Dan?
I've had a little bit of travel in my life as a younger man, very younger man back in I won't mention the decade, that'll give too much away, but spent some time in Dubai in the Middle East and the UAE as well. Went to school out there for a little while. And then, been fortunate to travel around in other roles. So those of you who know me will know that I worked on the cruise lines for a little while. So I was very lucky to kind of hit a few countries en route there. I won't occupy too much of this by listing them off, but I've traveled the US, South America, North America, Europe, Australia, and elsewhere. So arguably 3 well-traveled individuals on this podcast today.
What a rounded sales team. Yeah. But Mike, you've joined us from Freshworks most recently. Yep. So maybe just give us a little bit of a kind of insight into what you were doing with the team at Freshworks.
Sure. So I started off at Freshworks working with sort of the new business team and trying to identify new business opportunities. And that was probably the first, I'd say, 12 months of my time at Freshworks, maybe 11, 12 months of my time, and then focusing on new business. And then after that, moving away from new business, I then worked on a scheme to help the account management team, so the team who look after Freshworks customers, to try to identify opportunities to cross-sell Freshworks products. As you might be well aware, and this is not be aware, that Freshworks isn't just IT, but also has the customer service side of things with Freshdesk. So looking at opportunities where we can see if accounts were looking to have both systems on their books.
So that must have been very interesting working at Freshworks, right? Because from our experience, and Xcession have been a Freshworks partner for a number of years now, and what we've seen over the past, let's say, 6 to 9 months or so is a real kind of evolution in how they approach things. That must have been very interesting to see that change from the inside. What was your experience like, sort of going through that whilst they were kind of readapting or reshaping themselves for the broader market, Mike? What was that like?
Yeah, definitely. There was definitely a lot of change happened over that last sort of 18, 19 months I was there. For example, you mentioned there's a lot of change. They changed the CEO, for example, and that C-level structure changed about a year ago. Girish moved on and Dennis moved in as CEO. But I think also there's been a pivot of how they've, I think, consolidated their offering. I think previously you had other products from Freshworks. They've got the Fresh Sales CRM, things like Fresh Ping and Fresh Teams, for example, as well. But I think during that time, from when I joined to then sort of moving to Xcession, I think they've consolidated and really sort of honing in and focusing in on Fresh Service, for IT and ESM and their customer service offering. So I think they've narrowed what they're going to work on and specialize in those two things, and I think grow the business that way. Of course, with the focus on their Freddy AI and incorporating AI into their offering as well, which I've also seen that offering grow. I think from typical kind of chatbots, as it were, to now it looks like they're now positioning themselves at the beginning of that agentic space too.
Yeah, so obviously you had joined us when we were at the recent Refresh event, and that was quite notable for very much focusing on CX and EX, customer experience and employee experience. So I don't think they're deprecating the other products, are they? I think Fresh Sales, Fresh Marketer, etc. But actually, what they're doing is, rather than addressing everything for everyone, they're focusing much more on that CX EX set of messages, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. I think that the Fresh Service product, I think, was the Freshworks was originally called Fresh Desk when it was founded, right? And Fresh Service became a product, I think, in 2017, 18, and that product has really just launched. It's if not already, it is now their most successful product in terms of revenue for the company. So I think there's that real sort of focus on building out that IT ESM product, where I think it's where they see the most value for customers.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's probably, I mean, I don't know a huge amount about the customer service, customer sort of experience marketplace. I'm assuming that's a very substantial marketplace, but certainly the IT and enterprise service management market, is quite big and is continually growing, particularly in that ESM space, isn't it? So I think by focusing on Fresh Service, Freshworks are looking to grow, ahead of the market, right? But grow definitely along with the market as it develops over the next few years. So it's a good time, I guess, to kind of consolidate, I would think.
No, I definitely agree. Definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So you had obviously your experience at Freshworks, and you had sort of decided that it was time to move on. We won't sort of dwell on that really, but what attracted you to Xcession? When obviously you found out that we were Freshworks partners, so you weren't abandoning that knowledge, you're bringing it with you. But what about Xcession was sort of different, interesting? Why are you here, basically?
Sure. I guess there's a couple of reasons, like I think key reasons for
you can't say Sunil and Daniel.
Okay, there's 4 reasons. 2 of them are Sunil and Daniel. The other 2 reasons.
Well, the third one is to be on the podcast. So really, there's only one other reason, isn't there?
So for listeners out there, just endless benefits of working with Xcession. I think for me, sort of from a professional standpoint, I think when you look at companies like Freshworks, who are sort of these big tech companies, Maybe for the other political scientists out there, it's very much Adam Smith division of labor, right? Everyone's got a specialized piece, and they're all like a finely tuned cog in the machine, as it were, right? Focusing on one particular thing. And I always thought, coming from the new business side of things, if I've built the relationship with a customer, I've made the effort to go into to reach out to somebody, build that relationship, and then I have to pass on that relationship to somebody else. I kind of felt a bit almost gutted by that in a way. Like, it's, I know now I'm going to get to sort of interact with that customer. So I think being at Xcession, obviously we're not the size of Freshworks, right? But I think the opportunity to actually maintain and prolong that relationship with the customer is something that I've always wanted to do. I think when it comes to sales, it's cheesy as it might sound, but we're here to like help people and solve problems. And if we can do that by having that long relationship, I think that's probably better from the customer's perspective, is to have that one single point of contact they can always go back to for whatever query they might have. So that's kind of where I want to be able to position myself. But then I guess following on from that as well is, I think from what I gathered very quickly from actually, talking to someone before joining, was that Xcession is very focused on customer outcomes, right? And rather than thinking from a vendor perspective, can I sell more licenses? Can I sell the upgrade? Can I sell the extra add-ons? We're focused on actually, like, can we solve the problem and right size everything for a customer? I think that's the kind of type of sales I would like to be in as well. So that's probably the two reasons I'd say that I really sort of wanted to join Xcession.
2 reasons on top of the other 5 or 6 reasons.
On top of the other ones mentioned beforehand, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's and look, what you've just said there, right, is exactly why we thought this was such a great match as well, because you're absolutely right. The key focus for Xcession and we really try very hard, and we hope all our customers experience this, is that we start from the point at which we understand what are the outcomes and the business benefits that an organization is trying to derive, and then we work from that point. So what are the capabilities you need to deliver those benefits, right? What are the technical people, business change capabilities to unlock that, and and we work through that cycle with customers. I think what's maybe quite interesting to hear your views on is, so you've talked about the sort of desk and service side of things with Freshworks. How do you see the market for you? I mean, Mike, the sort of problems that you want to solve, are they customer experience? Are they more IT, ESM? How do you see it?
Well, I think people will talk about customer experience from both ends of it, right? Whether it's external or internal customer services. Freshdesk, I think, as a approach, is designed more, to be aligned with maybe sort of retailers or travel companies, right? For that's focused on, like, I've got an issue with my booking or my reservation, or my parcel's not been shipped, right? That's that one customer experience. So I think customer experience is kind of one thing, whether it's internal and external, but still experiences for people. And I think, again, another opportunity with being at Xcession is obviously with not just a Freshworks partner. We also partner with other vendors in leading vendors in the UK and Ireland who can provide services to improve customer experiences. So I think that's a really big opportunity. But I think, being able to actually help or be a small part of a company's transition to improving the experiences is something that I'm looking very much forward to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Mike, given you're the most recent member to the team, and we're very pleased to have you on board here, what are your kind of ambitions and plans for, let's say, give a time frame, the next 12 months? How do you see that kind of trekking out? What would be ideal from your,
sure.
so I think your point of view?
like first and foremost is win some new customers, right? And you know, I wouldn't be in sales if I couldn't do that. So it's to hopefully build out our customer base, and you know, actually help Xcession continue to grow. So that's kind of the immediate thing I want to achieve in 12 months. But I think beyond that, you know, as I just mentioned, we do work with a multiple array of vendors, right? I think the opportunity to get to work with not just one vendor or work for a vendor, but work with multiple is actually very exciting, and be able to, you know, learn about how these different vendors are different, how they can differentiate, what makes them successful, how they go about, you know, things like you mentioned, you know, doing different customer experience, how can they increase productivity, how can they each help businesses transform and really, you know, help them achieve the goals that they want to achieve, right? Being able to do that with multiple vendors, I think, is a really good, exciting opportunity. There's a lot of learning to do, particularly with you know, likes of ServiceNow, for example, a massive product. And I'm currently enrolled in the ServiceNow University, right? So doing modules when I can, trying to build up my knowledge of that. But I just think that's a great opportunity to sort of learn and work with those vendors too. So being able to build up that knowledge base, I think, is another core thing. But and also, I think, lastly, is just be better at my job, right? And continuously wanting to improve and be better and learn how to do my job well. So I think that's kind of sort of three things I'd say are my priorities. Sorry, I'm being distracted by your cat there, just walking across the
walking across the appearance, folks. We'll know if you've watched and listened to this, because you'll comment Marcy, and we'll know you've stayed close to the end of the session. Sorry, Mike, didn't mean to distract your thought process there.
No, I think that was about it anyway. But I just sort of, you know, looking and oh, hang on, there's a cat there. What's going on?
I love what you said there, Mike, about your objectives rather than about Marcy. But because I think, you know, when as salespeople, and you know, we're all learning all the time, but salespeople, you know, the big challenge, right, is to really understand what the customer is trying to do and find the right solution. And you know, the path that we've chosen at Xcession, by working with, you know, what we see as the core market leaders, right, should provide not every customer, but the vast majority of customers, right, the opportunity to find the right technology partner to help them unlock those outcomes that they're looking for, you know, and obviously we hope to be the right consulting partner to work with that technology partner on that customer journey. And you know, the point around sort of developing yourself, right? I mean, and then this is one of the things that I love the most about the job that we do, is that whenever you go and talk to a customer, you may have seen others with similar challenges. You know, many organizations are on broadly a similar journey, but there's always differences, right? Differences in the way they deliver their solutions to the market, differences in the way that they are structurally set up, you know, single geo, multiple geo, you know, organizations say retail, or you know, a sort of a, you know, pret-a-manger type business, right, with thousands of stores versus one enormous office that everyone works out of. You have different people with different skills, different internal structures. You know, you have to learn about those things all the time, and that's the fascinating part of the jigsaw, right? If it was as simple as problem A, solution A, well then, you know, we wouldn't have a job, would we, right? But it's never as simple as that, is it? And actually that is a huge personal development opportunity, I think. And to get to the point at which your experience actually then starts to bring benefits, right, to the customer. Yeah, so you've learned, you've heard about people with different solutions, you've been involved in delivery of solutions, and then you go into new customer challenges with a view on how they can unlock those outcomes. Yeah, I you know, learning every day, right, as far as that's concerned.
And it's great to see that, because you have such broad exposure to a whole variety of customers in different verticals. To use your example, Sunil, the Pret-a-Manger versus a great big office space. And it could well be that they have exactly the same challenge, but the way they approach and tackle that and overcome it to arrive at the business outcome they want to achieve could be different, or it could be exactly the same. So it's, as you say, it's always interesting, right? There's never a dull moment.
Yeah, definitely. I think, to sort of continue that coffee shop analogy, right? So you've got Pret on one side, Costa Coffee and other coffee shops are available, by the way. But, where you might think on the outside, they are a similar business with a similar model. But actually, if we go and talk to them, they might have very different requirements and very different needs from the internal, IT or ESM setup, right? And I think that's the beauty of what, like you mentioned, sort of what we do is getting to the bottom of each customer. I think that's also why being able to work with different vendors too can offer then different solutions to the different problems they might have, even though maybe, for example, from a vendor perspective, you might think, oh, same use case, same product, why shouldn't we win? So that's why I think it's a great opportunity here at Xcession as well, for me to continue that development.
Fantastic stuff. Well, folks, I think that was really useful. Great to have you join us, Mike, and get your face name out there to the wider world. For those of you listening and watching, if you'd like to get in touch with Mike, or indeed myself and Sunil, to find out more about what we do at Xcession and how we can perhaps help you, please do reach out. Mike, brilliant to have you with us on the team. Even more brilliant to have you join us on the podcast. Hopefully we'll get you on another episode in the not too distant future.
Thank you, Mike. It's going to be fantastic working with you.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Yeah, thanks both. Yeah, looking forward to one, being on the podcast again at some point, but two, looking forward to helping some more customers in the near future.
Fantastic. Thanks very much for listening, everybody. Leave a comment, get in touch. See you again on the next episode.